Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, looking at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century. Hello, and we're back with another episode. I am Amber, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Kristen and Cindy.
Hey.
Hello. So today on the podcast is something that's a part of my bucket list for the year that we talked about a couple of episodes ago, is furthering your education. So I'm just going to talk a little bit today about furthering education. Now, that doesn't mean, like, when I say further your education, I don't mean go back to college. Although that's my bucket
Not
list.
limited to that.
It's not. It's definitely not. Like, furthering your education doesn't mean going back to college. It means going to Michael's and taking a craft course. It means taking.
It does mean going back to college, though.
Well, but I mean, it does.
You're just saying it's not limited.
Yeah, it's not
limited
to going back to college or taking a college class. You can take an online course. Didn't you guys take a course over your cruise a while back?
Yeah, we took several courses over the.
Yeah, that's furthering your education.
Yeah. It's something that I believe in, and we've talked about this before about living a life of lifelong learning.
Yeah, and I was definitely going to mention that is that I consider myself a lifelong learner.
Me too.
I'm always looking to learn new things and try new things.
Yeah.
And so, like, one of my goals for the year is to get back into college so I can get my master's in psychology. But that's not like that's not my ultimate, like, continuing my education. Every summer I go and do educator training.
Right.
Actually, a couple of weeks ago, I did some educator training. So I am constantly, as a teacher, continuing my education and learning and growing my craft. So I'm looking to continue my education outside of teaching, like adding to it, supplementing it, getting my counseling degree so I can be a school counselor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I in my position, as a travel agent, I too have to participate in continuing education all the time. Cruise lines change their policies and procedures, and they're putting out new training modules all the time, and as do resorts and things like that. So I'm always, doing some kind of education to be certified in a specific area or a specific supplier or vendor or whatever. And it actually is one of mine. It was one of my goals last year to complete some cruise trainings. I didn't quite get through as many as I hoped I would, but I have plans for this year to get through a few more trainings in that area as well. But I also, not just the specific, like learning about the cruise line or whatever, but I also like continuing my education in the arts, in languages, in geography and things like that, because those things also help me with my travel business, because by having that background of history and geography and culture, things like that, it helps me to know more about a region and what might interest my clients there. So, yeah,
continuing in education in arts. We've got an episode coming up on date night ideas, and one thing, and we talked about a couple of weeks ago on bucket lists, that Jason and I had a date night bucket list, and one thing on our date night bucket list is to take a glass blowing class.
Oh, that would be so cool.
And so, like, we took a painting class, not last year, but the year before. No, we took a painting class
not too long ago.
Yeah,
right?
not too long ago. Yeah, we've done one every year since we started dating. So I guess glass blowing would be next level. I don't know.
We would take a pottery class. Oh my
Definitely.
I've always wanted to take dance lessons with my husband.
Yeah,
like ballroom dancing and salsa dancing. I think that would be so much fun.
Yeah, I've enjoyed taking
fact,
like
that's a
the
bucket
Zumba
list item.
class, the Zumba class at the gym, and they've kind of like made some talk about doing some dance
moves,
classing.
Yeah.
Dance classing.
Dance classes.
Yeah, to talk, to get you the basic moves because, in those Zumba classes, there's some like standard moves that you do like over and over again often. So it's like, that would be cool to just know the actual footwork for salsa. That way, even if I'm still learning the dance, I could throw in what I know.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's fun when you go on those cruises too, because there's always a salsa band somewhere. If you know how to salsa, you can get up there and do the little salsa, or throw it out there on the disco, or whatever. So yeah.
Dance classes are fun. I took a lot of them when I was a kid. That's definitely something. I've always wanted to take one of those aerial yoga classes.
Oh yeah.
Aerial yoga?
Yeah, it's like with the silks that you hang from
like
the
ribbons.
ceiling.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah, those look really
I know somebody who
too.
does that.
Yeah.
I actually do, and she's really good at it. It's really cool.
Okay,
like,
there's
holding
another
yourself
one where you're suspended from the ceiling and it's like a bounce, like jumping up and down.
Oh.
I saw a video on TikTok, but I couldn't say the name of it, but that looks interesting too.
Yeah. I know people who've gone to take cooking classes together. There's all kinds of things like that as far as couples classes. Those are pretty cool. There's sports. One of the things I want to learn is how to play pickleball. I keep bugging Kristen about it. I want to play pickleball, but I'm not quite.
Go right ahead.
I'm not quite fit enough for it yet, but that is one of my things I want to do. And like I say, I take we took a bunch of courses on our recent Green Man Studios holistic cruise. We took a tarot class and some pendulum and runes. And we did a Reiki class, which was very interesting. What else did we do? Energy management, scripting, lots of different things, and it was very interesting. I was actually surprised that I knew more than I thought I did. It was that was kind of helpful to me to realize that I'm really more intermediate than beginner than I thought I was totally beginner, but there were people there that were even more beginner than me. So, but yeah, I just like learning everything. I'm always trying to learn things. I've always believed in being a lifelong learner. I think the minute you stop learning is the minute you start to die, because that's when your brain stops functioning fully. You're just not using it fully. So I like to learn new things, read new things, learn a new language, learn a new skill, whatever. I think that's really important. And I've known people who have the idea. I've actually had people who told me, I don't know anything. I don't need to know anything. I know everything I need to know already. And I'm like,
what?
Yeah, exactly. That was my exact response. What? You don't know everything. And they didn't say they knew everything. They said they knew everything they needed to know already. And I was like, okay. What a sad existence. Yeah, I don't know. I'm too curious. I'm very curious. So.
Yeah, I mean, it really bothers me. Well, I mean, not bothers me, but I don't understand how people don't naturally have questions.
Yeah.
Like,
I want to know how everything works.
Yeah, there are some people that just don't.
They question nothing.
They don't question it. It's just they accept it as it is and they don't question it.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to pay this $500 power bill. I'm not even going to question why it's $500.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
there are
and some
there.
people aren't fascinated by things,
Right.
by many things. So if it's not fascinating to them, then they're not going to seek out more
Right.
of how it works or,
Right.
oh, that's neat. How does it do that? I want to know the ins and outs.
I
Yeah.
do too. I want to,
Everything is fascinating to me.
drugs, new medications, new medical treatments. I want to know how they work, why they work, what happens physiologically that makes it work. When I had a recent conversation with a friend and we were talking about different companies and I happen to know the history of the company and she laughed because Kristen is usually the one who knows the history of how Kraft cheese, I think it was Kraft American cheese, started. And it was because she was curious, she was reading something and she was curious about it. So she read the history of whatever it was. And it was a really interesting thing. And now I think about the American cheese in a different way than I did before, knowing that history. I really do. And I don't know. I think when you learn things, when you're curious about things, when you dig deeper into things and you learn more about it, then it changes your perspective on the world. And when you change your perspective on the world, you see that the world is a much bigger, but also a much smaller place than what you thought it was, and that there's more alikeness in things than there are differences sometimes. And I don't know, it just it makes you more open to accepting the other things that are there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I wish that college classes were more accessible and it didn't require you to, I know this sounds weird, just hear me out. It didn't require you to be fully vested in a college to get like a full degree. You could just take a class.
Oh, yeah.
Because
yeah.
I think more people would be inclined to go and take classes and things that they're interested in.
If they could take a class.
You kind of can.
Yeah, in a way.
Some
like
colleges
the junior
have,
colleges have like
continuing
some classes.
education classes that you can go and just take
That's
one
what
class.
it is. Continuing your education, not furthering your education. I'm
Continuing
like,
ed is
that's
like
literally like the slogan for going back to college. What are you talking about?
but yeah, you can do some of that, and and if you're an adult or whatever, you can go back and audit classes at a school you've gone to and things like that. But they really want you to go for a degree. I think you're right. I think it's set up so that you have to, enroll in a certain amount of course at work and blah, blah, blah. And I'm with you. I think if it was a little bit easier, if it was maybe the timing of the classes was a little different, or there were some other options, then more people might just go take a class.
Right. I wouldn't say I would want it to be easier though. Like,
well, not easier. I mean, easier access, not the class easier. Easier access is what I mean. You don't have to jump through so many hoops to go to it. That's just my take on it. Because like for me to go back to school now at my age,
that's a lot of hoops you would have to.
I have to jump through a lot of hoops.
Why do you want to be here? It just doesn't make sense. Why?
Right.
What's the purpose? Where are you trying?
Right.
Where are you trying to come here?
And really, all I want is a few courses. A
Yeah.
geography, maybe a language course, maybe a history class or something. And I don't want a degree in travel. I don't want a degree in history or geography or anything like that. I just want knowledge. I want knowledge.
Structured knowledge.
Structured knowledge. And particularly things that I feel like I missed out on, like in high school, because the history that you get taught in high school is so whitewashed and truncated, and I mean they just skip over big parts of it, and so you and they don't ever put all the pieces together. And this was a thing, I think we've talked about this before, my love for historical drama and things like that, like watching The Tudors and watching the Borgia and things like that. And when you watch these programs like that, these historical dramas, even if they're highly fictionalized, there's enough history in them that you start picking up on things. And that's when you start putting two and two together, that this pope was the pope that was in power when Henry VIII was trying to divorce Catherine of Aragon. And, you don't put those things together. And they never taught you that stuff in school. Mm-hmm. They didn't. They just told you these really base things. Henry VIII had 6 wives, blah, 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 whatever. They don't really talk about the way that all the different countries interconnected. The things with like Elizabeth I holding
Mary, Queen of Scots.
Queen Mary of Scotland hostage, basically, mm-hmm. for the rest of her life, and you just don't understand how those things all tie together until you get into higher education, and those things
are more focused. Like you take, that era of history class.
Yes.
Right.
Or Stars comes out with a TV series.
With a TV series
right.
where they...
Okay, so that's where, like, it makes it hard to self-teach yourself because there's, like, 10 million books.
Yeah, you don't know where to start.
Right? Yeah. And that's where I always find, like, okay, I want to know more about yoga. Right. Like, because we've been doing yoga, and I'm like, okay, I'm the type of person, I want to know where it originated, who started, who created it, how did it form, how did it travel across the world, what is the
different branches and
the different types, and I want to know, like, all the different poses, names, what are the basic ones, what are the beginner ones, right? There's, like, all these videos, all these, like, images and stuff online, and there's a bajillion books, right? But
it's too much information.
It's like, wow, I can pick up a book and I'm still not getting, like, the source material that I'm looking for. But I know if I took a class in college, that's exactly what the course outline would be. It would talk about the beginning, how it originated, where it came from, application, and
right.
And it's like, man, I wish there was, like, more classes like that. Like, you could just, like, take a college class on anything in the world that you wanted to know.
Maybe that's
without having to write a paper.
Maybe the answer to that is having more online things that are available that really kind of address that need. I don't know if that will ever happen or not, but it certainly wouldn't be free.
Have you guys, either of you, tried one of these? I forget what they're called, but they're like these master class. I guess that's what they're called.
Oh, yeah, they're master classes.
Yeah, the master classes.
Yeah, I have not tried one, but there are a lot of master classes from some big name people.
Yeah,
I mean, like
online,
huge people, and they're fascinating. They look fascinating. I don't know how much they are, though. I'm sure they're pretty expensive. I've taken some classes from online, like just continuing ed things.
Did you ever do the sign language, American Sign Language?
I never
course?
did. I signed up
Me
for
neither.
it. I never
paid
did it.
for it, and then never actually took the course.
We actually signed up for a course in American Sign Language that was offered at a discount. It was a master class, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I don't even know how to access that now. I really don't. That was like a year ago or more.
No, it wasn't a master class. It was called Stack Skills.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's another one of those course websites.
Yeah. There's several of those. There's another company that does those too, where you can people
There's a Craftsy one.
Yeah, there is Craftsy, but there's another one
There's one for theater.
There's one like
There
I can't
is?
remember what
Yeah,
it's
like
called.
theater
Tell me
skills.
more.
I believe it's called. I'll have to do some more research on it, but I believe it's called theater folk.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what the other one is. It's like Skillshare. Is that it?
Oh, maybe that's what
I,
I was calling
I think
stack skills. It might be Skillshare.
There are some like books on Audible called The Great Courses, which is
Oh,
like
yeah.
you can
I've-
listen to
Yeah.
course books,
Yeah.
especially history ones.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of those kind of things. So maybe those are options for somebody who wants to do that continuing ed, but doesn't want to commit
Yep.
to going to college.
It is Skillshare.com, and then there is Stack Skills.
Yeah, I knew there's
Okay.
multiple different ones of those, and then the master classes because and the master classes are done by people like I think I remember Stephen King has a class on writing
He
and
does, yes.
and Ann Getty has one on photography, I think, and there's a couple of producers that have stuff about movie making, and there's some business people that have stuff about marketing and business stuff. There's quite a few of those out there in that master class genre.
The Skillshare one is pretty cool. Just checking out theirs, it's about $32 a month, according to Business Insider. And they have like thousands of classes that you can take. So the only thing is they're not accredited. So
Yeah,
you know.
you're not going to get college
yeah,
credits for it.
yeah, I'm sure
But
you get some kind of like little certificate
You
or
could
something.
well, and
That's
you could
kinda
still
cool.
probably put them on your resume. You know because if you go take a course in how to use Excel and Microsoft Word, you can put that certification on
Right,
your resume.
right.
So why wouldn't you be able to put that on there? But and I think it would depend on what it was and how relevant it was to what you're trying to do.
So Amber, were you thinking about like moving forward with your education this year?
Yes, I'm really hoping to start this summer,
Okay.
if not this fall. Like
Yeah.
I'm jumping in. I'm
Good for
moving
you.
forward.
Good for you.
I know that's
I don't have
something
anything
Ashley
else.
wants to do too.
Holding me back
That's
from
good.
getting my master's.
That's
cool.
good.
My my boss at work was doing her real estate license,
Yeah.
so she wanted to, branch out and
That's
you
a
know,
good that's a
have an
great side
extra
hustle.
Side hustle, exactly.
Yeah.
I know quite a few people that have turned that side hustle into like
a
a
lucrative
full-time
business. Yeah.
lucrative
I
business.
do too.
And then
I
they
do too.
branched out into flipping houses.
In fact, I know a couple of educators who got their real estate license, and that's what they do now. So, yeah.
That's a good thought. I just hate selling stuff.
Yeah. Well, the thing about selling houses, you're not selling a house. You're just showing houses, and you're
The middle person.
Well, you're the person who understands all the legalities
Yeah.
and the loopholes that you
Yeah.
and all the hoops that you have to jump through. You're really not selling anything. The people who have the home are the ones who are selling the home, and their real estate agent who has it listed is the one who's doing the selling, because they're telling them you want to stage the house like this, and the house sells itself basically.
Right. I mean, really, the houses do sell themselves. People aren't looking to buy a house based on the person who's taking them to the houses,
Yeah.
because they could get anybody to take them to the houses. And,
Right.
I mean, you really
Right.
don't need that person.
That
because
person,
Yeah.
well, that person is the one who's
doing all the
cultivating
communication
and
too.
doing all the communication with the buyers and the sellers, and also all the contract work, and like I said, learning the loopholes, helping them with their financing or whatever, but also culling the list of available houses to match the needs of that
the person.
person. But
Yeah.
and what you are learning when you get your real estate license is not how to sell a house. It's all the legalities of buying and selling houses in the state. So, yeah, but it is very complicated, and it's a challenge to get that license for sure.
So, Kristen, do you have any like I hate to say bucket list. Do you have any goals for continuing your education this year? Like anything
Well,
that you want to learn?
I have, because my word this year is pause, I'm going to take a pause on adding new things to my life, new different things that I'm not already doing. So
Okay.
I do have, we've talked about my project matrix, and at the very bottom, that last quadrant of don't have supplies and haven't started projects is all of the pipe dreams that are like, oh, someday I want to do this, like painting rocks. I've always
Right.
wanted to, not always, like I got inspired like a couple of years ago to paint rocks. And I'm like, okay, you got to do some of the other craft projects. You got to take care of other things that you've committed
You already
to
started.
first.
Yeah.
So this year, I'm not adding any new things. Not saying that I already know everything I need to know, but I'm going to enhance what I do already know.
Deeper
Yes.
rather
Okay.
than wider. Yes.
Exactly. Yes. Because
Yes.
I don't want to be a jack of all the trades
Right.
or just know a little bit about everything. I would like to have a couple of things that like I know a lot more about.
Right.
Well, that is continuing your education,
I
Yeah.
know, yeah, but I'm not
starting a new education.
right.
or
As far as goals,
adventure.
my goal is to not add any
Right.
new things. That's literally what my goal is to not add new things.
And speaking of your goals, I mean that one of our in our goal setting system that we're working on, we have a category for learning.
right.
And that is one of the things that we encourage is that you find something in the category of learning as a goal. So either
Right. So last year's goal was to read one nonfiction book. So I'm going to keep it maintained at that.
okay.
I'm allowing myself one nonfiction book. Now, in the course of me like having commitment issues and figuring out which one that I wanted, I read a lot of first pages
Yeah.
and picked up quite a lot of nonfiction books. So,
Yeah.
just finishing one from start to
Right,
finish,
right.
whatever one it may be. But hopefully, there's one in particular that I started for work before COVID. Our managers were having like this little book club, and I really liked the first 2 chapters of the book, and then COVID happened, and then it was like no one was reading it, and we weren't meeting anymore. So I never finished the book. I don't know about my coworkers if they ever finished the book, but I kind of thought maybe that one would be a good one because it's a leadership
Oh yeah.
book.
Yeah.
So it would be, learning and enhancing in my role, my
Right.
job. So, and then it kind of like works for my work goal too. So,
Mine, as I mentioned before, mine is actually in line with my work. And I had started some cruise line trainings and never finished some of them. So, and I really do need to do more continuing education throughout the year. So that is one of my goals for the year is to do more of those, product trainings, to help enhance my business because, taking those trainings tells me, I learn more about the product that I'm trying to sell and they often include things on how to sell it. So, that's where most of my learning as far as goals goes.
I
Well-
want to get my diploma because I graduated and never got my diploma. So that might be a
From
good goal.
college, we'll say make that clear that was from college. Yes.
Yeah,
Not
so
high school.
I was like, I think I'm gonna graduate this semester, and you like in order to check to see if you qualify to graduate, you have to like submit it online, submit the application, and it went through. And I didn't realize that they had already like put me on the roster to graduate to walk, and I wasn't like mentally prepared because I actually wanted to walk the stage. So
Yeah.
I didn't fill out the request, like the form to sign up. And then I was too late to sign up. And then I was like, oh, well, now I don't get to walk.
And you never picked up your diploma.
And then I never got my diploma. So,
I never did that. Well, I walked at South Plains, but I never picked up my associate.
aw,
So it's still there.
yeah, you should go.
that
and
should
get
be a goal.
yours.
That's part of your learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm just picking up from where I once was lost. Hey, you know what though? That was an accomplishment for me. So I went back to school while I was working,
Full time.
and I wasn't driving either. I was riding the bus to work, and yeah, so I was working full time, and at the same time that I started school, because I thought I'll just take some classes. I don't need to tell my work or anything like that. It's none of their business. It's not going to impact my job. Then my boss promoted me to a leadership position. Then I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So then I was like, So I was like, I'll manage. This is fine. And then it was like, oh, wow. I went through like that whole time, almost the entire time of going back to college to get my degree, and no one at work knew that I was a student.
Yeah.
I was just like, at this point, it's like, what's the point in telling everybody?
Well, it might have, maybe you would be do more promotions if they knew that you had your degree now,
I know. And now that I think about it, I think I need to go on my work profile and let them know that I have a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might change things.
That might pay you more money.
More money.
I doubt
Yeah.
it. I doubt
Yeah.
it.
Well, yeah.
But
But there may be, job positions that they would have considered you for if you had a degree that they didn't consider you for because they didn't think you had your degree. So, yeah. I mean, that happens. It does happen.
right.
So, yeah. I don't know. There's other things that I want to learn. Obviously my spiritual studies is an ongoing thing. I don't count that as a learning goal. I count that as a spiritual goal. But for me, learning is always part of everything. I'm always learning, even when I'm working on things with Modern Musings, I'm learning more about how to work the podcast. I'm learning more about how to market things. I'm learning how to write better. I'm learning how to do artwork for my blogs and
all of my grammar lessons.
yeah, Amber gives me lots of grammar lessons. Yes. But yeah, it really is. I'm always learning things. And I like that. I do. And I will keep that as one of my goals every year.
So speaking of goals, we are, obviously this is one of the focal areas
Yes.
of our lives. And, we've talked about our little Goals Girl program book that we have our test group
Yeah.
a part of. And
Our beta testers.
Yeah,
yes.
beta testers. Thanks. And so this is one of the 12
Focal areas.
focal areas. So I know that we kind of talked one episode way back, maybe like 6 or 7 months ago, about the areas, and we started and we got to like learning, and then we got like derailed, and we never actually went through all 12 of them.
Oh yeah.
In
Okay.
discussing
I didn't realize that.
So
Okay.
I didn't know if that might be something fun. Now, of course, it's still in beta testing, so that's as it is today. We kind of talked about like that hierarchy of of importance. I think because Amber was talking about, maybe it was our goals refresh, because she was talking about how she didn't feel confident about setting other goals. Like, it wasn't important to her to set other goals in other areas of her life until she gets her health one under control. Because how can she...
it was, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, how can I, go back and get my master's degree if I'm dying? And I paraphrase that, but basically like that makes sense, you know? And how can you, continue your education if you're hardly able to stay awake because you're not getting enough sleep?
Right.
Or, you can't really focus on your body health if your mental health is, out of control, spinning out of
And
control.
how can you
or,
pay for furthering your education if your finances are a mess, or
Yeah.
or vice versa.
Or your
you
family
want to
is-
enhance your job, you need to enhance your learning,
Right.
So
So-
it actually was learning first before work.
yes, you're right.
Because you go to college and then you get that great job, right?
Yeah, right.
So the hierarchy that we decided on was spirituality.
You start internally.
Yes,
You start
starting
internally.
internal. And then the next one was mental health. And then your physical body health.
Yes.
Then learning. Then work.
And then career, and then finances. Finances is after career, and then it's home. Your home life.
Not the people in your home, but the structure.
The structure,
of home, like the
cleaning your
physical
house,
piece of home.
the housework that you have to do, those kind of things. Then you have your significant relationship, like your spouse or your roommate or boyfriend or whatever you may have there. And if you don't have one, is it a goal for you to be in a relationship? So that's part of that. And then your family, including that focal person, but also your children, your parents, your extended family or whatever. Then friends. We're moving outward, further outward, further outward, further outward. And then you also have to have your recreation. You have your family, you have your friend, and then you have I think it was recreation.
Yeah,
Is that
I
right?
just thought you skipped friends for a second.
No,
there.
no,
Okay.
family, friends, recreation.
Yep, recreation.
And then community, which is your giving. Whether that's through church or an organization
or your neighborhood.
or a service
activities.
that you provide. For me, my community that I do is the Modern Musings podcast. That my outreach is through the podcast. So, I do other things. I raise funds for breast cancer and things like that. But my biggest goal in that category is the Modern Musings. So, now if this was a for-profit thing and I wasn't a travel agent, then I might move that to my career. But for now, it's a fun thing, and it's an outreach to the community. So mine falls into that category. So it could also fall under, and that's the thing, the way we set these up. Some of these things could fall under multiple categories. It could also fall under recreation because it's something I do for fun. So, yeah. So there's some different things there.
So that, with that being said, this part of the goal setting, you're kind of like measuring
Where
your
you are.
performance,
Where
how
you are
feel
right now.
about those categories, and then that's where we start establishing like the values and setting goals, which we've talked about, a few podcasts back in last season, maybe back in November. Was it November or October? Morals and values? I can't remember.
I think that was October. That was
Okay.
October.
Yeah. So, identifying what's important to you.
Right. Our
And-
personal mottos. And
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. And so, like we're talking today about that because we are passionate. Obviously, Amber is, an educator, and, all three of us love to learn things. So that is one of the important areas of our lives. So that's where we talk about like having a goal in that area. So, for me, like I said, I just want to maintain in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm gonna really like knock it out the park in some of my other ones.
Right. And there's, even if your goal, sometimes with those goals, the goal is just to maintain it.
Yeah.
It is. You don't have to create some big fancy goal. I'm going to take my husband on 50 dates, or whatever. It can be just to do what I need to do to maintain my strong relationship with my spouse. your goal can be as simple as that. Your learning can be keep up with the learning that is required of my job.
Right. My family one was to send out more birthday cards one year.
Yeah.
Because I
To
often
make those
forget
connections,
people's
yeah.
birthdays. I'm really bad about birthdays.
And mine was to maintain and continue our habit of doing a family game night once a month. And so there's really very little to that goal except for just planning when they are and what we're going to eat for dinner. So, but that is my goal, was just maintaining that thing, which we started several years ago. So, yeah, we did it. I'm just maintaining it. That's all I want to do. And there are other things in my life that are that way too, that I just want to activities with my friends, just to continue doing the things that my friends and I usually do every year. I'm not trying to introduce new things for us to do. I'm just maintaining the things that we usually do.
So we don't fall off the face of the
Right.
planet.
We're,
with each other.
just keep going to the same retreats that we go to and the same conventions that we go to and what have you. So, and sometimes that's the sum of the goal. And then sometimes the goal is to go back to school or,
Oh, I thought of one that we didn't mention. Learning an instrument.
oh yeah, yeah.
A different instrument for
new-
those who already know how to play one.
Right. Yeah. That was one of my goals one year. I have a ukulele that my son-in-law bought me for Christmas, I think it was. Yeah. And my goal was to learn how to play it. Yeah. I didn't get very far. It's still sitting right here. I need to do that someday. Yeah. It'll happen.
One of these days.
One of these days. Yeah.
YOLO.
I have lots of things that I want to learn. Lots of things. I'll learn them eventually.
So very true. Like, there are so many things, like Kristen was saying earlier, like, I want to learn how to do like one or two good skills, because I do feel like I am a jack of all trades, but a master of none.
Yeah, I do too often, and that's why I want to, get better at some of my crafts. Some of mine are like painting. I want to learn how to watercolor better, and I'm often taking tutorials and little online classes and little workshops on how to watercolor better. Because I've had very little training, but I love to do it. So
I find the best thing to do when you're trying to learn something new, though, is if you think about in a college course, you do it like
over and over and over again.
You say you go Monday, Wednesday class, it's an hour and a half. They say, your study time should be equal to the credit. So 3 hours of study time, 3-hour class. So that's 6 hours a week that you dedicate to this new thing you're learning in order to retain it and be good at it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, I want to learn something new, but I also am like, stop, I have to like smack my hand whenever I go for like a new book or something that's like something I don't know anything about, because I'm like, okay, is this going to benefit me, or is it going to be one more unfinished task?
And that more is less and less is more, and you got to get rid of something to have something new.
Yeah.
And yeah. I agree. And I tend to, just go to all the new things. I want to learn this and I want to learn this and I want it instantaneous.
Right.
I want this
That's
download into my brain.
Where is
That's
that
the problem,
computer
though,
chip
because
download into your brain?
There's all these places, like you can go and watch how many YouTube videos on how to watercolor, and that's the problem, is that it's so easily accessible that it is overwhelming, and then it's like, well, I can get it whenever I want, so I'm not going to do it now.
Right, and then you don't do it at all.
Whereas if you pay to go to college,
right,
say you pay $200 to take a class, and you pay $75 for a book, and that's cheap.
Oh, that's a cheap
I know.
book.
I'm not talking
I'm
about
talking like
biology. I'm
two or-
talking about
$200 or
like
$300 books.
right? But I always bought the used books.
Even the
But
used ones are expensive.
anyways, you're like, man, I just threw down, $400 or
Right.
whatever to take this class, and I'm committed to actually show up, because if I don't show up, they're gonna penalize me and give me a 0.
Right.
So
That
you're
goes on your
like,
permanent transcript.
right.
Yeah.
And so you're like, yeah, I'm gonna show up. That's the difference. There's a different level of commitment when,
There is.
and that's where I think like those classes when you sign up for it, the thing with the sign language thing was it was at your own pace. So automatically I wrote it off and said, I'll do it when I feel like it.
Right. When we signed up, we knew we didn't have time right then. And we said, but it's at this price. We can't turn it down.
Right.
So it's there. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
there
so it's
has
still
to
sitting
be some kind of accountability with something like that. That's one thing I hate about self-paced things is
Yeah.
that there is no
Yeah.
accountability.
Yeah.
You do it when you do it, but then it'll be too late to do it.
And that's the same problem I had last year with my cruise trainings that I wanted to do. I started a couple of them, but there was, it's at your own pace. And, I was like, well, I'm busy. I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And so I just never got back to them. And so there they still sit unfinished. So, and it's not like it was a critical thing because I'm already selling cruises. I've already done some trainings. I already knew how to do a lot of things, so it was really just updates on what's on the new ships and how to do some more specialty things and some marketing classes. And yeah.
But really, I mean, if you look at it, in order to be successful at furthering your education, whether you're going to college, self-teaching, or just dibble-dabbling, right?
Dibble-dabble. I like
Dibble-dabbling. We've
Dabbling.
agreed that it takes commitment, accountability, time-sensitive, right? And I'm thinking, wow, okay, timely, smart goal.
It's a SMART goal.
Yeah.
It's
So I was like,
that's a
okay, what
goal,
was
yeah.
the SMART goal things again? S.
Specific,
Simple, specific.
Specific,
Okay.
measurable,
Measurable.
achievable,
achievable, timely,
Relevant.
relevant, and timely.
Yeah.
relevant and timely.
Yeah. So picking, obviously relevant, you're picking the course. or
Right.
the
So it's
thing.
relevant to whatever you're trying to do.
The specific thing, you need to narrow it down. That's why I talked about the yoga thing. Like, I don't even know where to start. It's a
Right.
4-letter word, and it has captured the audience of the world.
Right.
And there's so much information, so it's like, okay, I need to pick something specific. So like I could do the history of yoga, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then measurable, okay, pick a book.
And give yourself a time limit to
Right.
finish it.
And then achievable, is that
Is that something you can get done in
I
that
really
amount
like
of time?
accountability. I'm going to change the A.
And there,
accountable?
there are several different versions of that, and we talk about that in the workbook. That there is achievable is sometimes used, but also assignable, because this was originally the SMART goals
For
were
business, yeah.
they were done for business to be able to meet goals, and so can you assign that project to somebody? So in this case, assignable would not be appropriate, but you could use accountability. Yes, absolutely, you could. So why not?
Yeah. So I just thought about that. I was like, in order to be successful at giving yourself further education, self-taught, just by your own desire,
You have
in
to
order
be smart.
to be successful at it. I mean, you could dibble-dabble all your life, but
Right.
you could make it more efficient
Right.
and be better at it.
Well, and this goes back to that accountability thing. It goes back to what I was talking about with the exercise before a few episodes back, when I was talking about how I had to have that accountability partner to make myself go meet that fitness goal. And so, I think having an accountability in all of your goals is probably a wise choice, because when you speak those goals out to the public, when you let people know what your goals are, then they're going to support you. They're going to help you achieve those goals.
Yeah, they can root you on and stuff like that too.
Yeah, or help you and keep asking you how things are going and things like that. So I do like the idea of changing that A to accountability where needed, but even if you still need achievable in there, find some accountability in that, in some way. Yeah.
Cool.
That's great. I mean, I think that we're on the right track.
I hope so.
And I want to hear from our listeners. What are they doing to further their education? Are they curious? Is there a skill that they want to hone in on? Hit us up. Let us know. Comment on our blog. Hit us up on MMC chat. Send us an email. We want to know what y'all are doing in your life for.
Are you pursuing any
Yeah.
learning
Yeah.
goals? Yeah.
Any students out there? We got any college students?
Yeah.
What are we talking about next week?
Next week, we're talking about all about laundry and mom hacks, all that good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, y'all tune in next week for laundry and mom hacks. And before we go, we want to thank Creative Audio Tech and Cake Mix Studios for our sound and our equipment. And we want to thank our listeners. We love you guys.
Yes, we do.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.